So there are a few things I want to highlight in this video. First of all, the fact that the Fallen Dynasty set got massively buffed. It may even become viable to use on Fury and even other classes versus like Spectral, Sacred, or even the Blood Hunter set that you might have recently upgraded to. So we'll look at some breakdowns and analysis of that when comparing full builds that take advantage of all those stats that those sets can provide. Additionally, a heads up that there will be no maintenance, no update this week planned right now. They are interestingly supporting console on their Korean version. There was a hotfix, if you didn't notice, back on Saturday morning. And there is an outfit design contest where the winner will take away over 12,000 lucent and have the outfit put in game. So be sure to leave your vote, as there are 10 contestants. I'll go through a bit more details on that later. So yes, let's begin with the fact, no update planned this week, at least for the Korean version. That means no balance changes for orb+crossbow, which is a combination still massively dominating in the PvE damage setting, mainly due to satellite copy and the ability to still spam stellar dash through its weakened effects, also granted by this, combined with selfless diffusion. So nothing changed with its gameplay, and it is still pretty much the best damage dealer by a pretty wide margin, with many players doing dummy tests after this update and getting as low as 11 seconds, suggesting that the nerf was barely impactful at all. However, people are going to have had made some build updates and upgrades from the previous dummy tests that were at a similar level before this patch. But ultimately it goes to show that the combination's damage output has barely been changed. On a personal level, I see that too. My crucifix build is far from optimal, so I'm nowhere near getting as low as those times, along with the combination of worst server connection. And yeah, like 30 seconds is about where it was as before, even improved because I have made some character upgrades. But in terms of Fury, that has actually improved quite a bit for me, down to 21 seconds average versus before 31 seconds average. But that's again because my build is tailoring more towards Fury and optimizing the stats for it versus Crucifix. And these tests are done over like time, so these are back to back and then getting the average of those, not just taking a snapshot perfect test like you may see that these guys do. But considering satellite copy in a group setting, Crucifix is still the top damage dealer in PvE. And especially going to field bosses, I can't really do any contribution on my Fury because Curse Explosion is still bugged. With it being affected by the enemy's damage reduction twice, this just absolutely guts Fury's damage output, as it pretty much solely relies on Curse Explosion to deal its damage. But yeah, the devs don't seem to be concerned, therefore no update is planned for this week. But yes, we did have a hotfix back here Saturday morning, which did address Battlegrounds. So you can go and get all those wins and obtain all of those rewards if you haven't done so already. There was a fix for consoles as well, with matchmaking and it closing, giving you a penalty and things like that. They have reinstated the privacy tab, so those of you stuck in private mode can disable it if you wish. They added some items to the Romantic Blossom bundle, that being this one here for 3,000 loyalty coins, although for me it still doesn't show. And they should have made a fix to Concentrated Barrier, so its damage wouldn't be capped, although I have seen reports that it's still bugged. Let me know if you've done testing on it as of this update and if this correctly fixed. If you were affected by the Battlegrounds bug and missed out on some win rewards, you should be getting compensated via mail next week. But we probably won't be getting an update this week, so not sure when they will do it exactly. But if it's not done within the time you expect, be sure to contact support. But now let's jump to that tier 3 gear update and that Fallen Dynasty set. How competitive is it actually now? You can see, as of last Thursday, they've changed it to ultimately give up to 40% heavy attack damage. What this means on a raw stat level is you have one set, like the Blood Hunter, which is going to give 30% critical damage, versus another set giving 40% heavy attack damage. You may think higher number equals better. Well, in some cases that is indeed true. They're at least put at more of a level playing field. This is comparing when you're at 1750 critical hit chance, you add the Blood Hunter set, that goes to 2000. With Dynasty you don't gain that extra 250 buff, so it's at that base value. Critical damage, Blood Hunter set gets that additional 30%. Heavy attack, Dynasty gets that additional 250. Now keep in mind, this 250 can change. It's going to depend at the level of strength, but I'm assuming you're at 50 strength and also gain that extra 100. Versus potentially with Blood Hunter, you're not getting that extra 100 through the strength because you're not stacking that strength versus what you may do via Dynasty, because also via Dynasty you're getting that extra strength through the attributes on the gear pieces, versus the Hunter set would focus more on perception, wisdom and dexterity, not so much strengths. So yes, on a average damage outcome here, you can see Dynasty is basically the same level as Blood. What you have to be very careful of though are your material effects. You see that on your skill page just here. These stat bonuses you gain depending on the material of your gear. So Sacred is, for example, cloth. You see this, you click on it, you scroll down. Spectral is leather, while Blood Hunter here is also leather, but Fallen Dynasty, this Monarch set, is plate. And if you look at a lot of weapons, you will see that leather armor gives you the most benefit for dealing damage in terms of damage stats. Greatsword gets that heavy attack damage. Longbow, critical damage. Orb, cooldown and attack speed. It's going to be better than extra attack range or shield health or endurance or shield health received. And therefore you can end up with this balance changing significantly and becoming a lot more in favor of Blood Hunter. So check your weapon combination. For example, I'll show you more details. If we take wand and crossbow and we look at the actual bonuses we're gaining through leather, it's only going to be bonus damage mana regen. That's pretty useless on crossbow. And from wand, we're only gaining a bit of cooldown. Maybe we don't need that. And so you may end up resulting in the Dynasty set being just as good as Blood Hunter set. In some situations, maybe even better. So ultimately, it will be dependent what weapon combo you're on and what material bonuses you're gaining. One set's leather, the other set's plate. So keep that in mind when comparing the two. Also be aware of the fact some classes can take more value by going 2-piece brute with the attack speed and cooldown, plus 2-piece spectral or 2-piece imperial if you're ranged or melee damage dealer for the critical hit damage. And this can also be more of a budget friendly option. And what I will say is the difference between them can end up being very minimal. And so what you have to do is a comprehensive breakdown of your class, your abilities, your rotation to actually figure out how good the difference is between those sets. I have personally done this for Fury, comparing it versus 2-piece Spectral for the crit and 2-piece Sacred for the damage over time, and then Blood Hunter and Dynasty. What we find is Spectral and Sacred is just better. Versus Blood Hunter, you're going to lose about 4% damage. Versus Dynasty, you're also going to lose nearly about 4% damage. If you had to go with the two, you may as well just go with Dynasty. It is pretty good because you get all that extra heavy attack damage and extra higher min and max damage values here on your weapon, as you can see, versus Spectral and Sacred. And this is because you're getting all these extra attributes. This gear, this tier 3 gear, has more attributes. It also has more favorable trait selections. Like you can gain all this extra max health. So if you were to compare these two builds, you're going to be an awful lot squishier going with 2 Spectral and 2 Sacred. Health is only like 14,000 versus Dynasty, it's going to be 20,000. And if you went Blood Hunter, it's just going to be 18,000. So you gain that extra layer of protection without missing too much damage here. As you can see, only about 4%. I will warn you though, if you do go with Dynasty, you ideally want the helmet, because the Dynasty helmet does not have cooldown, so the legendary one does, and the Dynasty arms have attack speed, so you can go with those. Normally, you go with the heroic legendary arms because they do have attack speed, whereas Spectra or Sacred do not have attack speed arms, and nor does Bloodhunter. No attack speed there, and you don't really want to be missing that over 17%. A more future-proof build for Fury, I would say, is the Dynasty set. Like, if you need this survivability for higher tier content, then this would be the set to go with versus Sacred and Spectral. But you are, of course, missing about 4% damage. But if you're dead, you're not dealing any damage. So it is your choice, but ultimately you can make any of those combinations work. So I hope that helps. In the end, the difference is not that massive, that you can just go with whichever set suits you. So finally, let's jump to this anniversary outfit design contest. If you join the official Throne and Liberty server, you can also see in community news, they have posted right here, and you'll find a link to that outfit design contest. And it should immediately show you the description right here, what rewards the winners are obtaining, and then to vote on these 10 entries that the devs have chosen from all the ones posted above here. I have initially voted for number 8, which is this cute outfit here, the female character and the male character. And currently the winning outfit, the most voted outfit, is this one right here, the male character and the female character. And remember, these outfits should be coming to the game, meaning you should be able to purchase them with Lucent, and the winner gets 12,000 Lucent along with an Archboss weapon selection chest and a special title. But as per the rules, they did say the use of AI in entries is not allowed. People have suspected this entry 8 to be AI. You were required to post work in progress with your entry, and everybody did. And this is the work in progress for this particular entry. I'm not overly convinced. And if you check online, this particular website says it's likely AI generated. But I'm sure the devs have done checks of their own, right? But I'll leave it up to you which you want to vote for. As a personal taste, yes, I do find this one to be the cleanest. And out of them all, I wouldn't mind that one being added to the game, even if it is allegedly an AI entry. There are definitely others which weren't picked by the devs, which I would also have approved of. But alas. Let's see how many extra votes we can get. There is only 2 days left, and they have announced a new contest. The rewards are not nearly as enticing, with just some illusion scrolls, dyes, and sewing thread, and they want you to recolor a tombstone. It would have been nice if you could just invent your own one. Somebody please go and submit this one with maybe this text on it. But ultimately, that's it for the video. A special thank you to the support of these channel members, and we'll see you guys around.